Short-term decisions sometimes have managers need to identify what product mix they should have for the upcoming year or quarter, and sometimes there are constraints such as not enough square feet to stock every item, or not enough machine hours to produce everything that you could sell, or not enough trained labor. So sometimes these constraints will play into the product mix decisions. Paul's Tent Company sells two products, a camping tent and a party canopy. The production facility is limited to 18,000 labor hours per year, so that's how we know there is a constraint. They only have 18,000 trained labor hours per year. And of course, to train more labor, it would cost money, and sometimes cash flows or just other constraints don't allow for this. The following information is available. The sales price of the camping tent is $100 and the party canopy is $600. Variable production costs are $70 for the camping tent and $500 for the party canopy. Direct labor hours required, 10 for the tent, 20 for the canopy. All right, so we're going to be looking at, should we try to sell more camping tents or more party canopies? And we need to look at what is going to be relevant here. So given the above, which product should the company emphasize to maximize profitability? Going back to what you're given, if you'll just look at that part of your notes, you know that you need to calculate your contribution margin per unit, your sales minus your variable costs. So camping tents contribute $30 toward fixed cost and income for each unit, and party canopies contribute $100. So looking at this, it looks like party canopies are more profitable. But we do have a constraint, and that's our labor hours. So to get the contribution margin per direct labor hour, we'll need to divide by the 10 hours needed to make a tent and the 20 hours needed to make a canopy. So we'll calculate the contribution margin per direct labor hour, which is the contribution margin per constrained resource. $3 for the camping tent, $5 for the party canopy. So based on the constraint, the most profitable product is the party canopy, and it is based on the contribution margin per direct labor hour. So we would emphasize the party canopy, but the problem goes further. It says if demand for the party canopy is 500 units and demand for the camping tent is 1,000 units, how many units of the camping tent should the company produce in order to maximize income? All right, so remember the party canopy is the more profitable product, and they're asking about how many of the less profitable product we should produce. So if you look back in your notes, you'll remember that we are going to produce to meet demand of the most profitable product. So we're going to produce 500 units of party canopies. We're going to meet demand. So once we identify that, then we figure out how many hours that's going to require. Well, if we make 500 units and each one requires 20 hours, then we're going to use up 10,000 of our direct labor hours. And recall, we only had 18,000 available. So we always stop and compare. We need 10,000 hours to make 500 canopies. We have 18,000 available, so we can produce all of the demand for the party canopy. So then you can proceed to the next step and say, well, how many tents can I produce? So to do that, first identify how many direct labor hours remain. We had 18,000 available. We used 10,000 to make the canopies, so we have 8,000 hours remaining. So that 8,000 hours is equal to the number of units that we're going to produce for the tents times the 10 hours required per unit. Algebraically, we can solve and find that we can manufacture 800 units. So we will produce 800 camping tents. So overall, what the company is going to do is produce 500 canopies, meet demand, and then use the remaining labor hours to make 800 camping tents. Even though demand is 1,000 tents, we don't have enough labor hours trained to make that happen. So you need to first identify, when do we have to consider a constraint when we're looking at product mix, and it's when they state something is limited. Labor hours, machine hours, square feet, raw material. If they name a constraint, then you're going to need to look at the contribution margin per labor hour or per square foot, etc.